Hello, everyone. My name is Sri. So today we are just starting with the first of the workshop, which is on the League of Legends machine learning with OCI. The first of it is the data extraction part. So before we get started, I just want to do a quick intro. So I work as a product manager, primarily in the OCI data science side, primarily leading efforts towards feature store, model catalog, integrated ML flow, and others. So I have over like 19 years of work experience, primarily working in industrials like aviation and aerospace, semiconductor manufacturing, print and media verticals. So basically, I hold a master's degree from NUS Singapore and an MBA from UNC North Carolina. I would like to hand it over to Shane to just do a brief introduction.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Shell, and I'm currently working as senior member of technical staff in data science org. So I'm leading efforts related to model catalogs capability, like in OCI data science portfolio, especially in machine learning engineering and ML ops, which includes data processing, feature engineering, experimentation, model design, model training and optimization, and model deployment. I'm having total 7+ years of working experience, and I have worked in companies such as Amazon, Xilinx, Nvidia, and I hold master degree from BITS Planning and bachelor degree from University of Pune. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Shane. Thank you. So just will switch over to the live labs. I hope everyone has got I've registered and I've got a link in order to go through the this particular live labs actually. So let me just add this link across on the chat window for those of you who wants to log in. So first we would probably would like to log in through your registered account, like through which you have registered for this event. So once you click on sign in, it actually takes you through a single sign-on. You can also like choose the link from what Jane has already sent. So what I'm just doing here is I'm using a single sign-on option in order to log in. So I just would go through this. Yeah, so so once you log in, you would be seeing this dashboard across telling that this is the welcome to the live labs. So here we would, you can just type in the League of Legends and you would find the first workshop here, ID 3398. So you just click on it. So it'll open up this League of Legends workshop here. And in order to start this workshop, we would be clicking on the start button on the right. So before that, this workshop is actually about 2 hours. What we would do is we would provision an infrastructure, we would create an optimizer, a client, and after finally, we would create a machine learning model with after extracting the data, doing some data cleansing, and as well as we would use this data to create a machine learning model at the end of this exercise. So in order to do that, let's click on the start. So when you click on the start button, you would see something called run on your tenancy. So let's click on run on your tenancy. So this would take you to the actual workshop. And this workshop has the series of labs. And these labs are divided across about, starting from the introduction to, to the client, which is a lab 5 at the end of it. So before that, let's do a quick introduction about what is the League of Legends video game is all about. And it's one of the most popular video game the game is all about. So what we would do is we would actually take the data from this game and try to build a machine learning model which can predict whatever the moves that a player has actually, and also predict the probability of winning from one team versus another one. So we would go through these steps like data collection, preparation, data loading, implementing machine learning models, and data integration as well. So in this, basically, we would have the data from the access the data uploaded into an OCI storage. We'll do this through an automated method. So primarily, we would also like get this in the next labs actually. So let's switch on to the next lab. So in this lab, we'll actually go through, we would have to log into the cloud account. And this, if you just click on cloud.oracle.com, it would, so primarily like, it would, I'll just log out. So primarily it would, so you would go through the cloud account here. And then finally, we would have these, the cloud login. So I'm using my, you can use your login account, whichever you have registered. So for example, I'm just going to use the one with Oracle that I had registered earlier. So you can use, so I'm just going to log in here. So I'm going to sign in with a different account. So I'm going to use something called big data science, and it would have created a tenancy for you. So use that tenancy to log in. So if you log in here, it would take you to the login details. So once you click here, it would, so for me, I have a two-way authentication. So once you log in, you would see a dashboard like this. So this dashboard, will have some of the menu across compute, storage, networking, etc. So we'll go through one of these. So as a part of the first step, we will have to go through and create an API in the Riot Games developer website. So now once you're logged into this Oracle Cloud, we'll move to the next lab, under which we will have to, create a sign in, and as well as like also create an API key for this. So if we just go through this one, actually it is a team game. So we would be extracting the data across different teams, and there are different articles that are associated to it, which you can run, and look across on some of the, the details in the GitHub repo as well. So we have actually stored this in the GitHub repo. I'm just going to share it through the chat window here. So, 1 second. So just copy and paste this. So you can check some of these articles, like it has different associations towards data extraction and processing, and as well as building adversarial League of Legends AI model, and as well as real-time predictions as well. So let's go through the first of these tasks. The first task is actually to, we need to register for the developer account in the League of Legends website. There is a official developer website where we need to create an API key for this in order to extract the data. So let's go through that and register a key here. So first, when you go here, what happens is it'll ask you to create an account, which I've already created at this point of time. You can use the same account or an email address through which you registered. Like, for example, you can click on the sign up now, and then it'll ask you to create an account, and it'll give you an email address. You can use your Google or Facebook or Apple ID or Xbox ID. And then you can actually use that to, create an account here. So I have already created my own account, like I already have one. So suppose if you want this, you can just click on the Google account, and then the Google, one of your Google email addresses can be used to register it here. So the steps are, so for example, you want to use one of these, and then finally you have it gives you an option to create an account, a new account, or link an existing account. So if you just click on new account, just ask you to fill some details like date of birth, month, year, etc. And then finally, it'll ask you to register in this particular step. So if you follow this step, so you have a sign in button. And then after you create, you access to the development website. So this development website is another website where you actually have to, sign up again using the same email that you used to create this account, a developer account. So using that, you can actually, so I have already created one for this particular webinar. So what I'll do is I'll actually go back and probably register. I've already registered through it. So let me just sign in. So I'll just go to the login. So if I go to the login, it is already prompting me with the username and password. So I'll just sign in back. So once you sign in back, there is getting started, and there is an API key down below here. So if you see these steps, there is an API key that is actually would be shown to you. This is your API key that you need to use in order to extract the data from the League of Legends game. So in order to do this, I'm just going to I'm just going to keep this open, in this particular website, and then go back to this particular step. And then now you have, if you have some issues, I think you can log in back and validate your username and password. I think most of the times, like many of the issues are related to the password not matching or not able to log in with the same username or the same email address and the password. So once you log in, you would see this. And then for the first time when you log in and create an account, you have to log out and then log in back again. And then use this. And once you log in back, that is when you would see these API keys actually. So, okay. So with that, I think this is the first of the two labs. Like, if you would have done this, then we would move to the next lab where we will set up the infrastructure for the, in order to extract the data. So I'll just hand it over to Shail, to share the next steps actually in this regard.
Good morning and good evening, everyone. So I will be walking you through the infrastructure part of it. So basically, like this lab, we will be building the infrastructure that we will be using for the entire workshop. So like here, we will be creating 4 elements. So first is the compute, which is the Linux-based image from Oracle Cloud. Then we have autonomous JSON database, where we will be allocating the JSON documents that we are downloading from the League of Legends game. So I will walk you through like what are the steps in downloading the data and what all processing we need and what all data is actually going to store in autonomous JSON database. Then we have data science session and notebook, like in which we will be running the experiments with newly generated data using the notebooks. So this is how typically the structure looks like. We have the compute, then we have the autonomous JSON database, and we have data science notebooks. Okay, so to start with, we will be using one shell script, which will call Terraform and Ansible to deploy all the infrastructure that is required for this lab, and will configure it. So to give a brief introduction about Terraform, so Terraform is an open source tool to deploy resources in cloud. We just need to write the code that we want to deploy. So Terraform will make sure that all the resources are getting created. And there is Ansible. Again, it is an open source tool that is actually that will actually give us dependency installation, copies the source code, and config the file. So for this workshop, like if you don't know Terraform or Ansible, so that's not an issue. Like everything is already configured here. We just have to run the commands which are mentioned here, and all the required infrastructure will be deployed and configured for you. All right, so let's start. So first, I hope everyone is able to log into their tenancy. So if there are any issues you are facing, you can post it on Q&A. So maybe we can answer it. Like if you're facing issue in logging to your tenancy. So I'm hoping everyone is on the same page. So this is something like live we are going to do. We are going to execute some commands that will actually deploy the infrastructure and all. All right. So very first step is like we will be opening up the Cloud Shell. So like you can go up here and it is the Cloud Shell option. Once you click it, like the Cloud Shell will open up. So since this was already open for me, so it pops up quickly. So for you, it might take some time. Like it actually initiates few of the things. So it will take around less than a minute. It will be up actually. All right. So once the Cloud Shell is open, so then we will be cloning this League of Legends repository using the git clone command. So let's wait for like 10-15 seconds till the Cloud Shell is up. Okay, Chitransh, Cloud Shell is up. All right, there is one question logged into the cloud. Can you show once? Okay, so let's say if I minimize this. So here is the option where the regions are mentioned. So this is a US H1 region, it is mentioned. So just there is a developer tools. So once you click the developer tools, you have two options, Cloud Shell and Code Editor. So once you click on Cloud Shell, like it will open up. Okay, so now I assume that the Cloud Shell is connected properly and it must have been opened. So next command is like you can just copy this command, which is like cloning the League of Legends repository. into our workspace. So this is our workspace. So I will just copy paste this command and run it. All right, this repository is full, and if we do a normal ls, like we can see like League of Legends optimizer is the repository. All right, so next step is like we will go inside the development of the League of Legends repository. So you can just copy paste this command. Okay, so just to give an overview, like here, what we are trying to achieve is, so we are trying to set up the infrastructure that we have discussed. So we will be setting up one compute instance. We will be setting up one autonomous JSON database, and we will be creating this data science notebook. And all of this we will be using, using the Terraform and the Ansible script. And we have one shell script in place inside our dev directory. Yeah, this is the start.sh is the shell script that will actually create the infrastructure for us. Now, in order to create the infrastructure, we have to tell our Terraform in which compartment we want to create all the resources and what is the SSH keys to log into the compute instance and all. So I will just show you like how to configure that particular Terraform template. So first step, like just to reiterate, like I assume like all of you have logged into the cloud shell and you have cloned this particular branch and you are inside this dev directory. So once you are in the dev directory, just run the copy command. So this will actually copy the Terraform template, like which we will actually fill up. Okay. So we have copied it. And now next step is like, again, go to this developer tools and open the code editor. So there are two developer tools which are available. One is Cloud Shell and another is Code Editor. So we are opening this code editor in order to fill up the required template details. So for example, like we will be needing the tenancy OSIT, we will be needing compartment OSIT, we will be needing SSH keys and all, and right developer portal key, like which Shri has mentioned. So I will come to this again. All right, it takes some time to connect, so that's fine. All right, it opened up. So basically, like step here is like you can click on the file and then click on open. So it will open up the prompt and it will actually point to the home directory. And inside the home directory, you can see this League of Legend optimizer repository. Just click on the drop down option. And we are currently inside dev. And then inside dev, we have Terraform. And just check, like we have copied this terraform.tf vars file. So this is just a template right now. We'll just double click it. It will open up Terraform TF vars. So here we have to fill up the variables like which are required for the Terraform script, like region, tenancy OSIT, compartment OSIT, SSH public key, and Droid Games API key. All right. So any questions till now, or anyone facing any issues till this point? All right. So I think we are good here. So this is the first option is config file profile. So we will keep it as it is, like it will be default only. Now let's go to region. So we can actually check like in which region we are currently in. So we can just copy paste this echo OCI region command. So if I do this echo OCI region, so it will give me US-1. So I will just copy and paste it in the template. All right. Next is tenancy OSIT. So basically, like it will give us the OSIT of the tenancy in which we are currently in. So in order to get the tenancy information, just copy this command, echo OCI tenancy. Okay, so this is the tenancy OSIT. So we will just copy paste it. All right. Next is compartment OSIT. So there are two options, like you can create all the resources in the root compartment. So for that, you can just copy paste the tenancy OSIT. The tenancy of the root compartment is same as the tenancy of OSIT. Or else you want to create in some particular compartment. So let's say I have the networks compartment available. So let's say if I'm creating all the resources in the networks compartment, so I will just copy paste this command. Like I will just get the OSIT of the compartment and I will just say, okay, hey, Terraform, create all the resources in my networks compartment. Or like this is actually optional thing. Like you can use this tenancy OSIT in the compartment OSIT as well. Or if you want to create in some particular compartment, you can just specify the compartment here. So let's say if I want to create my resources in networks compartment, I will just give the network's name here. Like here, I have to give the name of the compartment, like whatever the name is, and I will get the OSIT for this. So this is the OSIT for the network compartment. So again, like this is completely optional. You can have all the resources create in your root compartment as well. Now, next is SSH public key. So this public key is required, like I have told, like we are having this particular instance, a compute instance. So to log into this particular compute instance, we will be needing the SSH key, like it will be used for authentication. Okay. Now, next is to generate the SSH key. So you can just use the SSH keygen command to generate it. So just copy paste this command and it will create a pair of public key and the private key. Okay. So it is first, it will show the default location. So it will be inside the home directory and then it will create .ssh folder and this will be the key. So just press enter. It will actually give us the default. So for me, like it was already there. So I'm overriding it. Okay, so now it will ask for the passphrase. Just give the empty passphrase. Again, we need to type the same passphrase. So just press enter again. So my SSH keys will be created. So it will say, it is saying that identification has been saved in home, my username and .ssh folder. And again, the public keys has been saved here, username .ssh and idrasa.pop. So next step is to copy the public key. So this is the command here, like using cat, we can actually just display the public key in the terminal and copy paste it. All right, so this is the public key. I will just copy paste it. Okay, next is write game API key. So this, like Shri mentioned, like you need to log into the developer portal of the Lloyds, like the link. If you are having any problem in login, so just do let me know. I will just walk you through the steps again. So once you log in there, like you have to get one development API key. So this actually we are fetching the data from their website. So they have exposed some REST endpoints and we will be fetching the data. And for fetching the data, we will be needing this particular API key. So like it creates an API key with the expiry of 24 hours. So I have created one API key. So I can just copy it from here and paste it in the template. Okay. So if anyone has any questions while generating this development API key, you can ask now. I can help you out. All right. So yeah, we have this Roid Games API key ready, and we can save this particular file. Like go to the file and save it. Okay. So this we have the template ready in which we have specified all the things. Now we can actually create the Terraforms, like all the infrastructure that is required. So we just need to run start.sh. So again, like this step is mentioned here. So after saving the file, like next task is starting the deployment. So you can just click on /start.sh, just copy paste this command, and it will actually start the deployment. All right, again, like since here we are creating multiple resources like database, AGD we are creating, then we are creating compute instance, then we are creating notebook. So this will take some time, like roughly it will take around 6 to 7 minutes in order to create all the required infrastructure. So you can verify as well, like when the script runs, it will look something like this. The output of the script will look something like initializing the backend, initializing provider plugins and all. And then like you can see the resources are getting created. So for example, like it is currently trying to provision some route tables, subnets, instance and all. And now currently it is trying to provision the autonomous database. In case you are facing any issues, just do let me know. Like since we have some buffer time, like around 6 7 minutes, so we can actually resolve the issues. So for now, database has been provisioned. Now notebooks session is getting provisioned. And you can also check it, like you can minimize this. And if you want to check, like this is the project which was created, a League of Legends project. And inside, if I go inside the project, like it is showing the notebook is getting created here. So this is in the creating state. So one thing to note here is like if you have created this template and start the shell script to create the infrastructure, and mistakenly if you have put anything wrong, and if you are making any change here in tf wars, so you have to create the entire deployment again. Like it won't take this updated file. We have to create the deployment again. Like we have to start run the shell script again. Then only the new changes will be picked up. Yeah, just an FYI.
Shail, do you want to show the console experience across on this?
Yeah.
Probably how the project has got created, or behind the scenes how it looks like.
Yeah. So, like I said, let's say like from analytics and AI, like click on this menu and analytics and AI. You can find this under machine learning. We have the data science option available. So this is the data science option available here. And so this is the project is the landing page, like inside with all the resources are will get created. So first, like we will be creating one project, like everything will be created by the Terraform script. And once you go inside this project, like you can have the couple of resources available, like notebook session, jobs, pipeline models, and model deployment. So for this workshop, we will be using our notebook session. And like I said, when we start the Terraform script, like this notebook session was initiated. So now it is in active state. So this is being created. And with the default configuration, like we have created this notebook instance with a bare minimal configuration, like we have the boot volume of around 15 GB in size, and the block volume is having 100 GB, and number of OCPUs are 1, and the shape that we are using is vm.standard.2.1 shape. So this is how this notebook session is getting created, and also like we can check in here. So it is showing that this notebook session is got created. Now it will just make sure that everything is running fine and all. So it is just doing some basic sanity test and installing the required dependencies and all. After that, like it will say that the infrastructure deployment and configuration is completed. So we can start using the newly created instances. So this is how the final output of the script will look like. Like it will give us the details of all the infra that we have created, like AGD and for compute and for a notebook session, it will give us the details. All right. So like in total, it took around 593 seconds to create this particular infrastructure. So we have everything ready. Like we have a database ready, we have the compute instance ready, and then we have the notebook session ready. All right. So next step, what we will do. Okay. So if just do let me know, like if any for anyone else, like if it is still creating, so I can wait for another 1 minute, and then we can move forward. Can you just give me a confirmation, like if it has been created or still like working?
I think some of them have an error. Well, in the shell is not opening for a few folks. So probably I think, yeah. So that's one issue that is, I think we can start to troubleshoot it probably post this session. I think we can spend some time if you get some time after this demo.
Sure.
And then the other one is actually Naveen has asked about, yeah, it's a Jupyter Notebook instance that will open up. It is on the Jupyter Lab. So we will be opening that in a few minutes. We'll go through that as well in some time.
All right. So in interest of time, so let's move forward. So once all the infrastructure is ready, we need to check the deployment, like if everything is correct or not. So we need to log into the compute instance that has been created. So just SSH into the compute instance. So I will show you how to do that. Like when you get the details around, like this is all the infrastructure which is created. So under compute, like there is a SSH command is available. So you can just copy paste this command and run it. Okay, so we are now inside this particular compute instance. Now we have to check if the key that we have written, like for database and for the Royd Games portal, like if this is working fine or not. So for that, we have one Python script, which is check.py. We will be running it just to see if we are getting this particular output, like DB connectivity okay and Royd API okay. All right, so we are getting this output, like DB connectivity is fine and Royd API is fine. So we are good with this. So let's conclude this particular lab. We will go to the next lab. So okay, I can wait for like if you are having any issues with this up till this setup, you can let us know. Maybe like we can help you out.
I've
All
had an
right.
issue in terms of the console. I mean the shell not opening up. Um, Aish, do you want to share the screen or do you want to just share what is happening?
Yeah. Can you let us know like what is the error you are seeing? All right. So shall we move forward with the lab three? All right. So once we have all the infrastructure ready and everything is set up, so next step is we want to build an AI and machine learning model. So for that, we will be needing some data. So like in starting, we have told like this is the Royd Games, which has provided several HTTP REST endpoints for which like we can make the request to opt in this data. So inside the source, we have league.py Python file. So yeah, so this is the Python file, league.py. And yeah, so we will be using this file to make different kind of request in order to get the data for the models that we want to build. So just to give a quick overview about what this file actually contains, like what functions it has. So it has following functions like player list. So it will retrieve the top player from the regions and add them to the database automatically. So this is the player list. Then again, we have the match list. So for all the users which are inserted in the database, so it will extract their last 999 matches. So like if there are less matches, like maximum will be 999 matches. Then next is we have a match download standard. So for every ID, that is there will be like we will get some information about the match actually, like what this data will be useful for one versus one predictor. Like if we are having some player one versus player two match, so this data will help us in like making the prediction about that particular match. Then we have the match download detail. So it will contain some global information, and this data will be useful when we are having like 5 player versus 5 player matches, and when we want to predict the outcome of that particular match, then this data is useful. And then we have this process predictor, and again it will uses the match detail collection and process the data to build pandas friendly object, and it will actually predict to win or loss. Again, win will be represented by 1 and loss will be represented by 0. So we will be seeing all this demo like live in the next lab, like how we are creating the model and how the prediction is being done. And similar to that, we have this process predictor live client. So this is similar to process predictor, it is having same column names and all. So we actually we are having one live client API, so which will give us the real time data actually. So we will be using this particular function there. And then we have process regressor. It is again when we trying to classify a model, so it aims to predict the winning probability. Like probability will be between 0 to 1. Like it will give us some result. So again, like we will be seeing this in the live demo, like how this will work. So, like coming to this lab, like our task is to extract the data and generate the data set. So, first thing is the training process. So, for this, we will need access to some historical data, and in order to train the model. And then testing process, we will need a model that is already being trained, and we will actually make the prediction against the new or some incoming live data. All right. So first step is to extract the player data. We can just run this Python command, Python source.leak.py, and mode here is player list. So like I explained what this player list is actually doing. Okay. One thing to note here is since this is the live data and this data will keeps on coming, so we have to stop it at some point of time. Otherwise, it will keep on adding the data. So for this lab, I will run this particular data for some seconds, and then I will actually exit this particular command by pressing Control C, because since this is the live data and we have the huge data that is actually coming in. So yeah, so I will be killing this particular command after a few seconds. So now it has started inserting the player information in the database. So maybe I can add this. Yeah, because this data is very humongous, so it will take approximately half an hour to download the entire data. And then we need to extract the previous matches, which will match the IDs that are currently present in our database. So this is something, the historical data that we will be needing. So again, like it will find the matches played by every player in our database in every region. And yeah. So again, this list is huge. So I will kill this command after some seconds. Okay, I think it's fine. All right. So next is the task two. Like we need to download the match details by ID. So we will be using mode as match download detail. And yeah. So again, like purpose of this command, like it will give us the time and stamp information about what occurred in each game in thorough detail. Okay, it will take some seconds to run, and we can actually kill it after that. Now, next step is like we will build the data object for our machine learning. And for that, we will be using the process predictor light client. All right, so I have killed this command, and this is the, okay. So you can see like I have run it only for a few seconds and we have this much of data.
So we have a 1 terabyte JSON database that gets created in the autonomous database. So you can just imagine if you just go to that particular autonomous DB, we can quickly show that, you know, it actually contains a lot of records inside there.
Yeah, so this is the like final command for this like building the data object for machine learning. And like our object is ready, like we can actually now proceed to the next lab.
Yeah,
Now over
thanks.
to Shri.
Yeah, thanks, Shell.
Thank you.
Uh, can you see my desktop? Can everyone see my desktop?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I think one of the things I just wanted to show was if you want to see this, what how the record looks like, you just type in like autonomous database. So you find this called autonomous database here. you click here, it will take you to this particular like an overview page. And within this overview page, you would find the different the JSON database that got created earlier through the Terraform scripts. So for example, I could see this autonomous database here. And if I click on it, you'll actually find this called League of Legends, one which is already running here. So if you just go here inside this database, you can do some database actions. Like, if you just click on this database actions, it'll open up a page like this. So suppose if you want to check across what records got ingested, just click on JSON. So what it does is it'll show you what and all records got created here, within this particular, database actually. So usually it gets stored here across in this particular one. And then you can actually see some of the records getting stored actually here. So just choose another one. So suppose if you check one of these, so let's see. It takes some time to initialize it. So suppose if you open that. So you have to click on database action. So it takes some time to open this particular admin screen. And inside that, JSON files are stored. Whatever the Python scripts that we ran are all getting stored inside here. And so suppose if you, this is where I think you would need to check. So once you click on JSON, you would find, all the data here, like some of the data that is getting stored in this. So you can see match here, match IDs, similarly match details. So it takes some time because the amount of data that is being fetched is pretty huge. And we could see that match details are there, predictor, live client information are also there. All are getting stored as a JSON tables inside this actually. So so what we did is, so now this takes some time. This takes a huge amount of time to extract it. So in the interest of time, what we will do is we will go to the console. So those of you who are here, just go to Analytics and AI. Under Machine Learning, you would see Data Science. Click on Data Science. You would find a project that has got created. So let's click on this particular project. So you would find a notebook sessions. So this is the resources that are listed, and this is what the notebook session that is created as a part of the exercise. So so let's go to click on this notebook, data science notebook. So once you click on it, it'll open a notebook instance. Like I already have it open, like for me. So those of you who want, you can take some time. If you just click on this one, it'll open another tab. And then probably I'm just opening it in another tab just to show it back again. So here, the notebook session, once it opens up, this is under an instance of it is on a Jupyter lab. So so you'll find this window. So you just click on this button that is open. So once you click on this one, it'll open a notebook session. So I've already opened this one. So what will happen here, if you just go back, on the first page, you will see a launcher screen here for the first time. So once you click on this launcher screen, you would have an empty notebook container, within which you can download some of the data. So for this, what we'll do is we will click on, we'll go to the launcher screen and then click on the terminal. So suppose you go here, and then you would, if you come down, there is a button called terminal. So let's click on this terminal. So it opens a terminal window. So now in the terminal window, we would have to execute this following command. So what it is doing is, it is going to fetch the League of Legends notebooks and the and place it inside the database, inside the data science in the Jupyter lab session actually. So if you just do this, so duplicate of this and then press enter. So it'll extract this file. It'll take some time. I already have it ready. So I think it's an issue with the Terraform, if I'm not wrong, Himanshu. Maybe I think there is some issue with the parameter, some parameter that is not going through it. We'll find that out. Just give us a few minutes. So this takes some time, like in order to extract it. So it is extracting from the object storage, which is in Frankfurt. This is the region from where it is extracting, and then finally it is going to, from archive.zip, it is going to create a folder called League of Legends, optimizer. So within this, so it's going to take some instance. This is the optimizer folder that gets created. So let's check this out. So it's asking me to replace everything. I'll just say no because I already have this ready. So I'm just going to say no to this. Let's say no to everything. So everything just say no because I already have this ready. So a folder gets created something like this under the root folder. So once this gets created, we would have to go, to the next step of, once you do a git clone, this is what you would do, like optimizer, League of Legends optimizer folder gets created. And once this is done, now we will have to open a hands-on lab. So the hands-on lab is called HOL. So let's go to the inside the League of Legends optimizer. And under this notebooks, you will find hands-on lab 1, which is the offline analysis part of it. So let's open that. So if you just double click on it, it'll open up. So as a part of first step, we don't have any pre-installed Conda environments here. So we'll use the native or whatever the default Conda environment that we have for this exercise. So so let's select that. We want to extend it for another 30 to 60 minutes. I think. Okay, if a section is expired, or the data extraction is still happening in the background. If it's not stopped, it will still run. Even though if your Cloud Shell session is expired, it will still run. So one way is actually you need to terminate it, like better to terminate that. Okay, so the other one is got error while running the deployment script out of host capacity. We'll get into this one in some time. I think this might be something with the script or the compute instance that's happening. Just give us a few minutes. So if you first go to the first of the notebook sessions is installing the required libraries for pandas for Python. So we would install pandas, Seaborn, setup tools, and pandas profiling. So if you just install this, it will download everything. So for me, it has already downloaded it. So for you, I think it will start to download everything back, all the instances across here. So once it is done, it will take some time, maybe a few minutes to go through it. We will start to use the first of the lab sessions, like first of this, we will import the Python libraries first for data ingestion or data cleansing, and as well as for feature engineering and for building the machine learning model. So you'll use a scikit-learn to build this model. So as a part of pre-processing, we'll be using label encoder, standard scaler, logistic regression, the min-max scaler, and as well as we'll be using scikit-learn pipelines as well in this particular exercise as such. So let's import those libraries. So I'll just extend this. So let's import those libraries. Now, once it is imported, we'll have to go through the next step. Before this, we'll have to download a couple of files here. So in this one, particularly, we want to get actually some of the data files, associated to this. So once we have those files, I think we would have to sort of use this. So these files, which are particularly in this particular, if you just go to the root folder, you would find 1v1.csv and all that. These are the files that gets downloaded. Let me just go to that step. I think I missed this step. Sorry about it. Yeah, I think these are the ones which we did earlier. Like we just have to copy this, and then if you go to terminal and then paste this, so it would copy these files, the CSV files that are here, match live labs and matchups.csv, etc. And this is what we did earlier, and these are the files that are stored inside, in the Frankfurt region from the object storage, and this is what we would put it into the data science folder. So all this League of Legends optimizer and these files would get copied back here. So so once we get this, I think we are good now. So let's go back to this particular step. What we would do is, yeah, we would go through it in depth about the machine learning algorithms in some of the algorithms that we would cover during that. So for example, we would be going through the neural networks in the next labs as such, in depth actually on that. Is scikit-learn library same as sklearn, or are they different libraries? So scikit-learn is the same libraries that we would be using. Is the same library as sklearn as such. Okay. So what we would do is we would actually have these files. So first of it is something called matchups.csv. Before we go to that, let's understand the data structure, what it is here. So within the data structure, what we essentially did was we got the match information, which had the match ID and the game version. So the match ID is, let's say there is a region and as well as the match ID associated to it, and then the game version that was used for this. So this data, we are trying to join with the player data. So the player has his own metrics like gold on total minions killed, win falls, wins, like kills ratio, etc. And this is like a match details that we want to extract. So one, we have a match table, and one, we have a player table. And then for that, we want to use these, use this to unionize it, and then probably extract the data, like in which match, which player won the match and which player lost the match. So in order to do that, we have a data snapshot, and in this, particularly what happens is we would have essentially a data scientist would be spending a lot of time in data loading or data cleansing, visualizing the data, the selecting the model that needs to be used for that particular solving the business problem, and then training and scoring the model, and then finally deploying these models actually. So first of the model is actually, we want to simplify and get the data structure. Like for example, we just, in this particular step, we want to get the match information, the players like, maybe champ 1 or champ 2, and then what was the result of it? Like, was it a win or a loss across on this? So if we just go here and then probably read this file. So let's read this data first. So I'm using a pandas read CSV for this. So it's a comma separated value, and then the engine using is Python. So what happens is it will just give from the matchups.csv actually. It's going to take some time. The first time we are going to profile it. Okay, so it read the file. So let's use the profile report. So there's a deprecation warning. That's fine. It's just a warning that you would get. So now let's use this profile report, do some data exploration like the matchups exploration, and then we will use an iframe to put it inside this notebook. So let's summarize this data. So it takes some time to go through this. So we can do some basic exploratory data analysis using the matchups.csv. So we can find out what are the correlations, which is the most, see some histograms and the kind of data that is inside it, like the data types, etc. All this is profiled and then probably put it into an iframe here. So it's going to generate a report structure, which will be in an iframe within this notebook. So that is what is happening. It is rendering a HTML. And then finally, you would see some of the exploratory data analysis, like the results of it actually. So from the matchups, you're trying to explore the data and see any patterns within it. And that's what is happening here. So as you can see here, it is showing the number of variables, the observation, missing cells, etc. Like, missingness of the data, are there any duplicates? Also, we can see some other things like, what is the overview about it? What are the variables? What are the interactions? So suppose if you go to interactions, it will show you any sort of cardinality or correlations across this. That can be shown here. So if there is any sort of correlations on this, it is actually shown on these correlations. So, and as well as like you see the correlation heat map, the stronger it is, it will be highlighted in red. And then the weaker it is going to show in blue or dark blue actually. And then finally, you would see the missing values, any sort of missing values in all the columns. There are 14 columns, and among them, are there any sort of missingness in the data? It also does a sampling of the data, which we can see here. Like, this is how the data looks like. So you would find the match ID, gold earn, minion skill, win skills, assist, etc. And these are some of the metrics associated to that particular matches. And then like, was there a win, like, or kills, assists, etc. And because this is a team game, it is just showing those details across on this particular one. So let's do one thing. Suppose we did a data analysis on this, and this is an exploratory data analysis. And the next step is actually, let's tweak down to the one-on-one matches, and for this, we will read a file called 1v1.csv. So let's quickly read this one. So in this particular file, it actually gives me the match ID. There are like 1 versus and 1 because there are 5 players. You would find whoever played 1 versus and against another, and who won in the end. There was a win or not. But so if you just see the data, it gives you the match ID, the champ 1, champ 2, and the win ratio across all this. So let's do one thing. Let's take the champ 1 and then take a unique names across, because these are string values. And we can just quickly convert it into a list. So these are the unique names that are here. And then for this, we would want to convert this to a list. And then, we would use this further in the prediction actually. So once we have this, let's check the data type, what are the columns we have? We just want to print it. So we have the match ID, champ 1, champ 2, and then it'll actually want to know the data types. The data types are important because the champ 1 and champ 2 are strings, and this is an integer, the win is an integer, and the match ID is an integer. So what happens if I want to use this in a machine learning model? So we don't want the match ID further. It's not much of use for me. I want to find out if I want to build a machine learning model to predict the win ratio. Match ID is irrelevant. So I'm just going to drop that. Let's drop this particular match ID. So once we drop it, we would use the 3 columns. That's the champ 1, champ 2, and the win ratio. Create a training data set and a test data set. So in this scenario, I'm just going to use 80-20 ratio for this in order to create 80 for training and 20 for testing actually. So let's run this step. So once you run this, training data set and a test data set gets created. I'm just going to create a copy of it because I want to create a labels for this, one for features and one for labels. So the training features will be the same training data set dot copy, and I'll use a copy function from pandas. And then the labels for, I'm just going to call this as labels for training labels, and then which will return the, a label called win for this. And similarly for the test features as well. So once I do it, we have to, enforce something called label encoder and one hot encoder. What is the purpose of label encoder and one hot encoder? So the label encoder, one of the, important thing is it actually converts the string values to what machine understandable format. That means like it actually can, it assigns a unique integer value for each category within the feature column. Suppose if you have, let's say an example, if you take an example, suppose if you have 3 values called low, medium, and high, so it'll assign a value called 0, 1, and 2 for the using the label encoder. And whereas a one hot encoder is actually a binary encoder. So the binary encoder will be useful in scenarios where there is no where there's no order or there are no ordinal variables. So in those scenarios, what happens is the one hot encoder would actually use, so for example, if you have 3 colors, red, yellow, and green. So whenever there is a red, it will actually assign a value called 1. And for the rest of it, it will assign a value 0, 0 for yellow and green. And then when it encounters the other ones, it will assign a value 1 to that, and then remaining 1, 0. So it will create a matrix in such a way that, it has a binary feature, assigning giving a unique category for each of those feature columns. So we will use label encoders for this, for the champion list. So the champion list, we use the champ 1 for it. So we can use champ 2 as well for the same. So let's build that. So we will use label encoder for this. And then once the label encoder is done, we have to standardize this. So the standardization is because we have to use this, because one can be something like, 0 and the other one can be 100, and you have to standardize it. And for we have two standardizers, like we have a standard scalar function, and the standard scalar function uses a fit transform, and we'll use that to transform these features first. So once this is done, then we will come back to the logistic regression. So in the logistic regression, first is to train this particular data. So we will use training features and the training labels that we created earlier. So first we will call the training, we'll call the logistic regression model first, and then we will assign the training features and the training labels associated to it. So what it does is it will give us the prediction probability across here. So what is a prediction probability? Like, the prediction probability is a certain is an estimated probability, like, or a certain outcome of an event occurring or not occurring. So let's say there is a given input of features, and for that we want to have some sort of a probabilistic way of telling this is how, by which percentage it is going to happen, that event is going to take place. So in this one, we have to predict the win. And for that, we will use a prediction probability using those training features. And then finally, we would get the confidence or the score for those training features and the training labels. So let's run this. So I'm getting around 51.3% of the prediction probability and the score of 51.32%. And these are the prediction probabilities that I would get for those trained features, actually. And then for the training labels that are here actually on this. So as a part of the next step, I've built a model. I have used a training or a historical data to train the model, but I have to evaluate this particular model. So in order to do that, I'm going to create a new data where I'm going to apply a similar function, like in order to, I'll create a list of champions called champ1 and champ2. We would create a data frame, and then finally we would standardize this, maybe like transform this, and then finally we would use the fit or transform to transform the data. And then finally we would get a data set out of it, like similar to what we did for the training data set. So let's run this. So what it has done is it has taken some of these string values and then converted into an integer or into a numeric format. So what you see is actually champ1 and champ2 that are here. That is how it is going to look like. And then now we are going to, if you just check the scaled data frame, this is how it is going to look like. 0.4872, etc. In this is a data frame or an array, like, it's going to show you an array like this. So now we have already trained the model. And if I apply on this particular data set, the scale data set, let's check what is the prediction probability on this. So what we would do is we would use the logistic regression. You'd use a predict function here, and then we would try to print out the results across on this. So let's create, we have created something called new data frame, and we'll use that here across in the logistic regression. So let's run this. So as you can see, the predict function gave us some sample values, like, it is printed the results. And then the score is actually, this is what the prediction probability that are coming up, 0.395, 1.604 for the features and the labels that are associated. And then for probably we would get a detailed result, something like this as a data frame within this or an array. So after doing this, the final function is actually find out something called the find winner. If we have two games happening, what is the probability that one team will win against another, by how much percentage? So in order to do that, we will create a function called find winner, and we will use this to get the we want to get an additional probability. So the additional probability is meaning that if there is a 50% chance, or let's say there is a 75% chance that the other team wins, so they would win by, let's say there are two teams, like, team 1 and team 2, and if team 1 is going to win by 75%, the probability is, if you keep a 50-50 of equal chance, the team 1 has 25% more to win in the game actually. So we want to give that additional probability, and this is what we are going to calculate here. So if there is a team one and then the team two, and then they are going to actually come out with this additional probability of winning, we are just going to come and tell, like, this team one won by 25% more than this team two by so much and so on percentage. So we just run this. So once we run this particular prediction probability, we would get is, like it'll sum the probabilities and it'll give, it is telling like team one is going to win by an additional probability of 25.37%. So we want to know, like, who are these particular players within that particular team. So we do something called inverse transform here using the scikit-learn. So inverse transform would convert the earlier data frame, which was in the numeric format here, into the string format back. So let's go back, and if you run this, it will show you the exact names that are there, the actual string or actual players who actually participated in this. So once we do this, we would have, we know that the team one is going to win, like, in this particular one, with an additional probability of 25.37%. Let's know who is the predicted winner on this. So once we do this predicted winner on champ one, and then we use the string, so we would get these names across on this particular one, like Blitzcrank, Victor, Jax, MMU, etc. So these are the ones, and this is the fifth player. Jin is the other one, which is going to win. So this is what is going to happen, is the steps across on this particular step. So we loaded the data, we processed the data, we explored the data set, we ran through, got the data types, dropped the ID columns because the match ID was not of important. And then finally, we splitted the data into 80-20 format. And then we created one for training and one for testing. And then we actually did a label encoding. And once we do the label encoding, we used both label encoder and one hot encoder for this. We standardized or scaled the data. And then once we scaled this data, we used like min-max scaling and standard scaling. Once this is done, we applied the logistic regression to train the model. And then we got the prediction probabilities and the score across on this. And then finally, we were able to make new predictions by creating our own data, which is, we created a list of player data here. And then we transformed that to a data frame. And then we standardized it. We converted that back to numeric format. And then we use that data to predict the new probabilities for this. And then finally, we predicted a winner on this particular step, by an additional probability of 25% that the team one is going to win. And then we also got to know who are those players who were involved in this. So as a part of the next step, I think the lab 5. So lab 5 is a bit different. I just have to get out of VPN. So what happens is, if you want to use a client API, you can do that. So let's, so in order to, this is optional. This step is not needed, but if you want to explore and capture the data in live format, you can have a client. So League of Legends actually gives, sorry. So it actually gives you the League of Legends client here. So if you just go and there is this client. So so this takes a few minutes to get up. To get started. So using this League of Legends client, you can actually capture the data in real time. So that's one of the things you can do is, so I'm already logged in. So you would see this. So this is how it is going to look like. Let me just minimize it. Sorry, I'm logged in. So let's click on play. So it takes a time like to kick off the the client instance. So you would see something like League of Legends client here. And then once you load it, so suppose if you want to load the screen, it looks something like this. So this is what we went through. So once you click here, it will take you to this particular page. So let's go through this. So I am here. So I can just go through and, oh, sorry, I think it is trying to download a game. I just don't want to. Okay, so let's wait till. So I'm in the journey. I think the overview is fine. Sorry, I think it's trying to update this. So what happens is that suppose the idea is that if you're actually, if you want to capture the data, it provides a local host with this particular port number. And you can actually capture the data in real time. Whenever you're playing, you can capture the entire thing. So if you use the live client, so if you click on play, so I go to training ground, and then maybe like a practice, confirm on this. And then if I select start now, it'll open up a League of Legends window. And you can just start a game, like, on, I hope you are able to see my desktop, like it's still rendering. So I can see all these games happening. So let me just go back. And what I can do is in this particular page, so I'll just go through, open, this local host instance. And if you just open a local host instance, this is the data that gets generated. So if you see here, right, this is the data that is coming for me in the real time. And if I go and play the game, it will start to capture everything. Right? This is my name. This is my screen name. And if you see this one, so this is what is happening here. I'm not active at the moment. So I'll just exit the game in the interest of time. So it'll just stop. So the live client is able to capture the data in real time, in this particular fashion. So for a few, and this is what we did in the earlier time, like, we want to capture the data, and then we can use the same data to predict the next step, or trying to predict who's going to win. Like if you have a team, and you can use this data to say that this is my next step, and this is what a prediction probability of this particular match is, with that. So for that, we would use a process live client, a Python file. And this is what it is going to use it. And then using the live client, we can actually predict what are the next steps, in order to win this particular game, actually, and by how much probability I'm going to win. And this is actually the end of it. Then this is what the client lab is all about. So here I would like to stop sharing, and probably if there are any questions, I think, okay, I think, yeah, it is an iframe. Yeah, it's some sort of floating frame within the notebook. It's actually an extension as like a HTML format that gets added like as a part of Jupyter Lab that is inbuilt inside it. So like either you get it through the Python profiler or the pandas profiler that we used, or in one of the libraries that actually does this rendering of correlations or exploratory data analysis within that, actually. Yeah, so this is the end of it. Any questions or any other queries so far on this?
I think all the questions have been answered so far, whether it be through the Q&A or answered live. So we've come to the end of the session now, Shail and Sri.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. All right. I'd like to thank everybody for being with us today. I hope you've enjoyed this. This is the first of 3. And our next session is next week on the 13th of April. We look forward to seeing you there when we can take you further into machine learning on OCI and League of Legends. Again, we thank you for your time and we look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.